He was special.
Special is the only way I can describe Undead Unluck chapter 164. Yoshifumi Gotsuka, you just wrote one of the best chapters of this series I have ever seen, and leave a comment for me. Do you agree about that? I think genuinely, I know Fang is my favorite character, so I'm really happy to just be within his presence right now, within his arc right now, but everything that Yoshifumi is cooking right now is just insane. If you tell me that you theorized this was going to occur last week, you're lying to me. You're lying that you thought Mui was going to become the undeniable GOAT that we have to stop this tournament, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about this chapter because it was amazing. Hey, and a limited time offer only for this video. If you leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you're new here, if you're a current subscriber, we love you. You will get one free devil fruit, the real thing. And I'm telling you, if you want to be a devil fruit user, this free offer is your only place to get it. This is one of those chapters where Yoshifumi just hits it out of the park in every single aspect, from the comedy to the action to the plot developments. There was a lot to love about this chapter, and for the sake of honing in more on that action, that plot development, I want to kind of highlight some of the comedy that I enjoyed real quick. Although some people were scared Yoshifumi was going to skip past these fights in a really quick manner, which she kind of did for at least two of them, I really enjoyed how he juxtaposed the classic comedy of Undead Unluck with these scenarios in order to make the fights still seem like they were real bouts. As I've been saying, I knew these were going to be exhibitions. Nobody's trying to harm each other, hurt each other, unless it's going to be that Shin versus Fang battle. But outside of that, Yusai wasn't trying to hurt Shin. Void wasn't trying to hurt Shin. So at this point, it doesn't make sense for them to go in a full out, all out fight against them. In the way that both of them just took one blow from Shin and were like, dang, he beat our ability, good for you. I love that, because all Fuco wants him to do is understand these abilities and overcome them as a kind of a hurdle. And it makes sense just with the comedy, how he did it. I love Yoshifumi Gotsuka. The best piece of comedy I thought from this chapter is this ongoing situation with Mei, though. Whenever Billy encases her in Unchange and just has Fuco carrying her around, I was dying. And then you see during the conversation with Fang, Mei is just in there in the back, muffled, trying to speak and trying to listen, but she can't hear or speak anything. It's just really goofy, really funny. Yoshifumi is on his Oda levels of stuff, with the background funny, pointless comedy always going on in the background of panels. That's the best part about Undead. We've really developed a lot of characters up to this point where everybody can always be them. Everybody's personalities are always showing, and dude, I just love a chapter like this that always reminds you of the highlights of this series. And we ain't here for the comedy though, we're here for a tournament arc. And right now on the card is Void Volks, the heavyweight champion of the world, versus Shin. And Shin has finally realized that he has some sort of restrictive immobilizing ability. It's making it so I cannot avoid him, so you know what he does? You know what a goat does? He called out to the other goats, to Jackie Chan, to Rock Lee, to Mugiwara Luffy. He uses the Drunken Dragon formation. Knowing that he's unable to avoid the hits, Shin uses the situation to his advantage. Going fully relaxed, he uses the momentum from Void's hit to go into a full counter, jumping into the air and landing with a Ryubenda Dragon Whiplash. And although Void is not incapacitated from this gigantic blow from Shin, as I had already mentioned, they are only trying to test Shin, being hurdles in the way of his growth, I guess to say. So he asked him, hey, you've got a bigger reason to win this tournament, right? You don't want to fight against the big gaudy god, so just move on to the next fight. And the next fight was coming down on him before he could even blink. Yusai leaps down on Shin with an overheaded slash, and he barely has enough time to react to this, but our girl Yusai, all the ladies of the union, not even just her, are big body brolic, probably some of the strongest, most hard-boiled warriors that we have. And this strike from Yusai grounds Shin freaking dang near knee deep into the ground. This woman is, oh my god. I get how she taught Andy, and you know her ability, undraw, so Shin is unable to unsheath his legs from the ground, and as she comes up with a little, I was just loving it. This is some grade A action. Undead Unluck is in its peak week. There's not much to say right now, but we got so much more to talk about. And as Shin is getting his beat by Yusai, we get a change of scenes. Now a conversation between Fuco and Fang. And before we talk about this conversation, I gotta make a quick highlight of the first panel. Fang just sitting on his throne with Fuco beside him. I know Andy is her man, but that's a good looking group right there. But Fang is extremely interested in this entire situation, realizing that Fuco and the rest of her gang are these superhumans and that there's a world outside of the one he truly understands is getting him more and more like it's piquing his interest. But Fuco's got another plan right now. It's not just about having the strong fight each other, it's about manifesting this ability within Shen, and she needs Fang in order to help out with this plan. Or so she thought. A negator's ability manifests during the worst tragedy in their life, and Fuco believes that will center around the woman that Shin presumably loves the most, his little sister Mei. So he asks for Fang's help in order to protect her when that time comes. But obviously, as we learn later, that might not be the case. But as we switch back to the fight, we see a feat of strength from Shin, which only would come out of the big body boy, and I was just jaw dropped to the ground whenever I saw this. Realizing he couldn't draw his feet from the ground, he said, alright, I'll just pull everything up with me. And I had the same face as Yusai right here. I was like, that is one way to get past undraw, to just take everything with you. That's literally what the sun did. Is Shin beating the sun alone? Does Shin solo the One Piece verse? Crazy. But doing a handstand with a massive tile on his legs, Shin kicks Yusai out of the ring. And Yusai, once again, accepts defeat. She's like, that is a hard-boiled little kid, and just moves on from the situation. She's probably about to start drinking some water and get a gourd stuck in her mouth or something. I love me some Yusai. Nonetheless, let's get back to Fuco and Fang's conversation. Fuco's curious. She questions to Fang why Shin has this pursuit of power. I know that Fang does it for himself. He just wants to be the strongest in all creation. But is Shin just trying to live up to Fang? Like, what is the dealio? However, he's doing it for a lady. Shin had been teaching a young woman the Hikyoku style and had also become very familiar with her. And although he didn't want her to, she had to enter this Tenraisai tournament. She needed to win this medicine in order to cure her little brother's sickness. Which is nice to know that Mui isn't ill, but as we learn, she's pretty ill if you ask me. Although Fang doesn't know her name, Fuco utters Mui, and Fang confirms, yes, that is the woman. And as Fuco's like, makes sense. He taught this young woman the Hikyoku style. He doesn't want her to get hurt entering this tournament since he learned it recently. He's like, you just gotta be a little bit weaker than Shin. But that's just not the case. We see the masked woman, Genkai, whoever you want to say, just the fiercest competitor here, a god of this tournament, and the woman who apparently is sitting at the top of the totem pole, the only competitor to Fang maybe even. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. We see a young woman facing off against Luo, and shout out my guy, although we don't really know him too much, we know a lot about him. He was one of the people who grew up with Shin in that previous loop, the guy who first defeated him in the Tenraisai tournament previously, as well as the guy who got bopped by Fang and used as a Jiangshi against Shin, which always sad to see. And apparently this guy is only known to take L's because during this tournament he's facing off against the masked woman. And as this woman parries, weaves, and just dodging everything, the whole crowd is enamored. They know that this is a very skilled, very fierce competitor. But as she finishes dodging Luo's blows, we see Luo has been defeated. What looks like to be the 8 Cycles Mountain Pass, whatever it's called, that thing that Nico hit Andy and Shin with last loop. Luo is bodied out of there, but this woman, her mask cracks. And as we all see the long hair Mui appear, I was just dumbfounded. And as I finished telling what actually needs to occur, Fang wants to kill Mui, obviously. Fang always just wants to breed dragons and see if he's stronger than somebody else. And if she is stronger than Shin right now, he obviously wants to offer. So now a lot of people have something to, do for this tournament. Fuco presumably would have to win if Shin's not big body brolic ready to win this tournament. And if Mui gets to the top of this tournament, I can't even talk, guys. I'm just super excited right now. My blood is pumping. If Mui wins this tournament or gets to the top, she might be killed by Fang. What's gonna happen? Shin has to elevate to a level past Mui because probably nobody's on the same level as Fang. I'm just rambling, bro. This entire chapter, these last panels, everything. Yoshifumi, I've never seen you. I don't know, bro. This really might be my favorite chapter of Undead Unluck ever. All 164 of them. Hey, throwing this in a random spot in post because I forgot to mention it in the video. However, Undeniable has been mentioned twice in the last 2 chapters, and I think that's always an interesting thing whenever we get anything. We've always been theorizing and at least hoping for that we'd see a new negator ability manifest during this loop, and we've seen all the normal ones do that. We know that souls, so Shen's soul does have untruth within it, presumably, or even maybe Mui's, just because we don't know if she's going to be the last bearer of that ability. Nonetheless, if the case comes up where Mui manifests Undeniable, you heard it here first. Whew, I'm working on stuff. Hey, Anime Expo next weekend, Undead Unluck trailer 2, and also the Negator video.